All right, we'll get going since it's 9:30. Try to get out of here as quick as we can for you guys on a Friday. Quite a few familiar faces. I think actually all of you have maybe been here before. I'm just going to introduce who's here today. I'm Jessica Shea. I'm the operations manager for land services, so I oversee the AIS program along with a few other things. Most of you have met Eric Hidalgo and then Amy Stone King. They are our coordinators who are really the day-to-day for this program. We are going to record this, like we said, and we'll put it out online. We'll send it out, the link out in the email next week when we send the plan out. We're going to send a bunch of info in that to you guys. If you don't know, the bathrooms are right out behind here. The men's is straight out the store to the right, and the women's is around the vending machines here. And then I just wanted to point out, I think most of you picked it up there on the back papers. On the back table, we have our annual report that we started doing last year. So today we're just going to give you high-level points. We're not going to bore you with every little detail of the data, but this really goes into the detail on the data of the lakes, the landings, the inspections, the violations, all that good stuff. So we encourage you to grab that, but we will also send that out and post it on our website. And then I just wanted to throw some info out there. We are really good about sending the data out to you guys. There's info out to you guys to apply for DNR grants. As you all know, we have looming budget cuts coming to our program, which likely is going to affect the grants that we're able to give to you guys. So there is a DNR grant that opens on the 10th. We will be sending that info out with this update as well next week. But we will keep an eye out for those like we always do. We're going to share them with our Lake Association groups. But we encourage you to go out to like the DNR website, U of M, Mazer, just look for those grant opportunities because of these funding cuts. Maybe it'll change, but as of right now, we're looking at a 50% funding cut. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Amy. She's going to go through the 2025 season report. And then we'll have Eric jump into the 2026 proposal. And then we have Justin from the DNR here that's going to go through some of their data. As you see, we try to incorporate their data into ours during the season. So you see, hey, if we're not at a landing, we try to point out the DNR was there, or hey, it was actually a miss. We couldn't schedule someone there. So you guys can kind of see that your landings are getting covered, whether it's us or the DNR staff there. So she'll touch on some of that. And then we'll just wrap it up. See if you have any more questions and go on from there. Take it away.
All right, so I'll just go right into it for PowerPoint for 2025. Wrapped up. So we're talking about the our staff coordinators, different prices for that, education awareness. We're under budget for that this year, and it seems like most years we are. Grant programs, we are over budget by $7,000, and inspections we are over budget as well. And then decons we are under. With that estimated rollover, we have $900 estimated rollover from this for the 2026 season.
I want to point out, I'm really proud that we only have $900 in rollover. Part of that is due to, I think someone suggested it, like we always point out, well, we have rollover because, you know, the DNR staff's some of the same landings that are in our plan. Well, why don't you budget for that? Yeah, good point. So I took an estimate of how many hours I think the DNR is going to be at our landings, and then I reduced our overall salaries by that. So that really helped bring our budget more in line to only have about $900 estimated rollover.
And then I also went, we talked about the grant program too, but we went 7K over just because of some of the new programming confusion with some of the grant policies. So we did go over budget on that to give everyone what they needed for grants. Education awareness. So we were out at the county fair this year. We were able to be at Cross Lake Community School, and we got to work with kids. We actually did a setup where we did a boat. So they got to inspect a boat at the boat launch. And then we also did rake tossing there. So we were able to toss the rake out in the lake at Cross Lake and have the kids work with us in small groups to see what we pulled up from the water. We also were able to attend Pequot High School this year and work with some of the high school kids about our program and talk to them about, you know, future of working with us and what that could potentially bring for the DNR, keeping our lakes clean in the future and all that. We also should likely be able to go back there a couple times a year and work with the Pequot High School, which we're looking forward to as well. We also did a newsletter. We did a newsletter for Pelican this year, and then we do a handout at the boat launches every year with our inspectors to promote the clean, drain, dry, so they get the towels to clean off their boats. We also had fly swatters this year. We had key fobs or key floaters from previous year. And then we also do the biweekly updates for lake associations. That gives them an opportunity to see what we're working on, some different newsletters that are in the area that are helpful, and opportunity to ask questions. We also send out our updates for everybody so that they can see the hours for each lake that we are working at. And then we taught grant program. It was a new grant program for us this year. It was a little bit of a trial and error, lots of questions. And so we do know it's something that we need to work on next year to get it a little bit better information for lake associations. But treatment wise, we were able to award 57,500. Early detection, we did 66,640. And outreach, we were able to do 300. So that's different lake associations that applied for the grants. This year also, we had the lake associations that have never applied for grants. So it was kind of fun to see everyone had an opportunity this year instead of only certain lakes. So it was a fun program to change up this year. Starry Trek, we did Starry Trek here this year. That's one of our first ones here in the last few years. We had 10 people sign up for the Starry Trek, and it was hosted here at the Crow Wing County. And then we had 6 routes that we went out on. We had 10 people sign up. Not all were able to attend the day of because of different things, but we were able to do our 6 routes and do a variety of lakes and test out their water, and then come back as a whole to kind of review what we found out at the lakes. And luckily, we were able to not find anything in our lakes like Starry. Some of the other counties, Beltrami County had a couple of lakes that had found Starry stonewort, one in Hubbard County, and then I think there was one more county that had it. Stearns. And we will do it again next year. We're really hoping that next year we'll have some more lake associations that want to participate, or people that are prominent on your lake association or lake that want to do it next year. We really enjoyed it, so we hope next year we can get a good turnout and have more people do it. So our inspection season, we're just going to kind of talk about that as a whole. Even though our inspections are at the landing, for the summer part, May through September, working year round on our program. January to March, we were working on recruiting, so we try to get the word out about hiring new staff, reaching out to our veteran staff to see if they want to come back. We've gone out to different high schools. This year we didn't as much, but we've previously gone out to high schools to get people to want to sign up. And then April, we are completing interviews, working with the new staff to get them signed in and get working with those, and then get them all ready for training. May through September is really busy. We are scheduling, we're doing trainings, assisting inspectors, and verifying data is accurate. So once they do their inspections every day, Eric and I try to go on there every other week and just go through the data to make sure that if they hit the wrong lake, that we can fix it and not have a pile at the end. It is very easy to hit the wrong lake because some of the other counties have the same lake, just it's in a different county. So we just go through and fix all that data as we go throughout the season. And then October, we go through the data and prepare for our plan to do the wrap up. And then we present in November, and then in December, we make sure to complete all of our information so we can report it for DNR, and then we get our delegation agreements and all that paperwork turned in by the end of the season. Our inspection wages, so this year we went from, last year we did 18 an hour, this summer we did 18.50 for new inspectors. And then returning inspectors second year was 19.25. So I believe we went up a quarter in that. And then our veterans that have been here 3+ seasons, we went up to 20.25, which was a 25-cent increase. Our lead inspector was 21.25, and our decons went up to $2 more an hour. Our lead inspector, if you guys haven't met him, his name is Steve. We've had him the last 2 years, and he is out on the weekend, all weekend, working with the staff, checking up on them. If there's a fishing tournament, he'll stop and help them. He's available all the time. Eric and I are also out popping up on the weekends, but Steve is here every morning getting decon set up with them and helping them if they need it and we're unavailable. And then the decon, we did $2 more an hour because it seemed like even with the dollar incentive that we used to do, we just couldn't get the staff to want to do decon. It is a very labor intensive position for some of these people, so we want to make sure that we have enough staff that we're not draining the 2 or 3 staff members that we have all the time. And then our inspections, so we have, it's required for our staff to do online to get our training. Prior, it's usually about a 4 to 5 hour training that they go online, log in, and watch videos and complete tests for our inspections. And then they come in person and we do an all-day event for the inspections. So they come in, we go over our handbook and what we do here in the morning in here, and then we switch to outside in the afternoon. So we have 2 different shifts. We give them a lunch break, but they then go outside with the DNR and they learn how to do the inspections with the DNR. And then that first weekend, we also have them pair up with staff. So veteran inspectors will work with them the first day to show them how inspections work and help them if a lot of them are unsure of what they're doing. So they're there to help them, guide them. And then after that, or they feel like they need more training, we'll absolutely give them more training for an extra shift if they feel like it's needed. And then obviously the option, level 2 for them is the decon, and that's optional. We don't make anyone do it, but it is optional for them to get that $2 more an hour. 2025 challenges. We had a great season this year. We had a lot of inspectors, veterans. I think we had probably our best years of returners, and then we had a handful of new ones. But we always have that problem of beginning of season because we have college kids that are still at college or teachers that work with us, and we just don't have a staff at the beginning. But really at the end of season 2, when it comes to Labor Day, we have a hard time staffing all of our landings because a lot of them are returning back to college or back to a different job. Staffing to assist lake associations with growing concerns. We know that infestation is a worry for everyone right now, and trying to work with our staff to make sure that we can hear everyone's voice in all this and then have the staff to help with that. That's not always an option. Limited funds from states for our lakes clean prevention care. So we were able to do grants for a lot of them, but our funding is getting cut off little by little, and in the future going to cut major. So that could be a challenge for us. Pay increases. Our staff obviously like to get pay increases, and we want the ones that are great at their job to stay with us. And so we're just trying to stay competitive with the field for that. And then we do have a lot of staff that have been here a long time or veterans or older, and the bathrooms is sometimes a problem because not every landing has a bathroom. And then educating the youth. We have little numbers, but we've done NISWA previous years, and we had 2 or 3. So we're just trying to work in the schools and find bigger things for our staff to be at when we with them. Total level 1 surveys, we had 39,914 this season. A little bit below what we did last year, but that also just varies on when the 4th of July lands. We have, I don't think it was Thursday this year. And so previous years we've had it land on different day and have more hours allocated for that. 83% of surveys completed this year were done on a regular planned hours. We also have expanded coverage as well with lake associations. And then we were able to fulfill 89% of its planned hours for our staff. And then part of that could be with DNR as well. The DNR does work at our boat launches some weekends, and so we move our staff around. So often enough, we have the hours a little bit different because of that. And then for expanded coverage, we were able to complete 3,355, a little less, but 88% filled. And that also could be because of DNR, or we just didn't have the staff. Lake associations paid $75,000 in funds for extra expanded coverage this season. The busy graph, but this is inspections per landing. It is in the book that we send out to everyone. You can see that the lowest reported inspections per landing was Middle Cullen, which is something that we don't normally staff. But we had a mix up with the DNR being at a landing and us, so we moved our staff to Middle Cullen to give them the hours and be at present at Middle Cullen. And then Lower Mission, Upper Mission are very low inspections for our plan two, and they're a low priority lake. And then Cross Lake Southwest continues to be one of our busiest landings that reflects here, 2,629 hours this season. Or, yeah, inspections, sorry, at the boat launch season for Cross Lake Southwest.
Amy?
Yeah.
That only is the ones that we did the inspections for. We have no idea what the DNRs and.
Yes, this is just what Crow Wing County inspections were for that, yes. And then we kind of did a breakdown of what boats we had at the boat launches. So you can see that the fishing boats was the highest one with the 49.78%. And then it goes down to the runabouts at 16.5%, pontoons. Personal watercraft is a jet ski that we have at the boat launches. And then 3.37% is the wake sport boats that come out to the boat launches. Canoe, kayaks, and then it gets smaller, but I would say obviously our fishing boats are the big advocates at the boat launches in the summer.
I'll ask another point. So
Sure.
the runabouts would include weight boats.
Not wake sport boats, no.
Did you have a separate for?
Yep, wake sport boats is the wake sport boat up here.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And just kind of a fun information, we do have a lot of people from all over the US that like to come to Minnesota and bring the boat out. So kind of just a graph, obviously Minnesota was the #1, Iowa close by, Wisconsin, North Dakota, Florida, and Illinois. We have a lot of people that come here in the summertime, and so they bring up their boats and spend a lot of time here. That's just kind of a fun fact. Then this is inspections per month. July is by far our busiest month in the summer. We completed 12,368 surveys in July, and then it goes to June, just under 10 grand, August, just under 10 grand, and then May is our slowest well, not slowest, but lower with 7,000, almost 8,000, and then September was expanded coverage. We went until August 31st this year, and then anyone that asked for expanded coverage, we went into September for them if they paid for that. The inspection points, so we had 15 courtesy. We don't get a lot of courtesy stop-ins for inspections, but once in a while we get someone that wants to get an inspection done on their boat to make sure they're in compliance. We were able to complete 23,216 entrances, so we do catch a lot of them going out on the lake every day. And then coming in, exiting was 16,683. So we don't get as many coming out, but we do get a lot going in. Species founder inspections, so we have a lot of plants that we find on the boats. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're the aquatic invasive ones or ones that we have to worry about. There's a lot of natural ones that we find on the boats and they come in. I mean, that could be potentially because they come off the lake and it's darker out or we don't have an inspector there and they don't notice it. So they come into the boat launch with plants on there. And we have them come in compliance before they can get in the water. We do report it on our surveys, so that's why we have this information, is we do report it on there. But a lot of them can, what we call, come in compliance to go on the boat launch because they pick off the weeds from that. We do have down there the zebra mussels, so we did have that 90th exiting with zebra mussels for that. And then a lot of them, like I said, can come in compliance. We have people that show up with zebra mussels. We can, depending on how intense the boat looks with the zebra mussels, some of them are a couple by the ballast tank or by the end of the boat, and we can get them cleaned up because they're dead from last season and they didn't realize they were there. If it's more in depth of zebra mussels, we will send them to the local decon close by, and we have a list of where they'll be that weekend. So inspections, we've got that 39,914, non-compliant 3,000. So 9% of all inspections, all but 14 were resolved at the time of inspection. So we did have 14 violations this year. And with all of our violations, it was a boat coming in with beaver mussels. And so we were able to send them off to the decon station. Not always are they on ours or where they are, so we'll send them to the closest one. And then cited violations, like I said, 14. One of them did end up in a violation, and so they did get a ticket, but that was mostly because they didn't want to work with the conservation officer. But everyone else was able to come into compliance with the DNR or the conservation officer after working with them. And then, 3.03% of all non-compliant watercraft, so very small amount that ended in misdemeanor or cited violations overall. 99 of all watercraft became compliant or were compliant upon entrance. So another busy graph for you. We'll just touch quickly on the high level stuff. And the data is slightly skewed because Lower Hay was closed most of the season. So that put a damper on some of this information for that lake because it is very busy landing when it is open all year round. North Long Bearfield had historically been a busier landing, but this year we saw increased traffic to this landing with an average of nearly 6 inspections per hour. So then this is inspection by landing during the plan coverage. So you can see this is kind of what we should send out for our mapping every year. So the green is our low landings. Yellow is, or that's very low for green, low for the yellow, medium for the orange, and then our red is the busy landing. And with that, I think you missed this slide. But, the inspections, these indicate on there like the different levels. So we have camp on there is a little bit of an outlier. Nisswa through North Long 371. I also know with that, it really depends on the water levels. We do have Gull that has issues too, where the water level seems to be low, or there's big dips in the boat launch, and so on. People don't want to use that access because they can't get in very easily with some of that information. But you can see that the trend is the red stay higher with the more inspections and the low stay low with our inspections from our plan.
Yeah, this is the first time I just want to chime in that we've shared a graph like this to really we look at this usually to kind of see how we plan our landing. So we wanted to put this together to show you guys like, okay, Lower Hay is kind of an outlier this year, but the ones that we are coding as the high risk, are they really the busiest size? Like what are the inspections we're getting? So as you can see, most of this, we're kind of planning it correctly. The reds are where they should be the highest. The oranges with a couple outliers there. So maybe like Camp and North Long Nisswa, like she said, that one just really depends. Maybe those are ones we kind of look into a little more. Why are they a little slower? Maybe they need to be moved down to a yellow. And then our greens obviously are at the smaller end. So it just kind of falls with, okay, we're planning this correctly. Are we doing everything correct? Should we look at those few outliers? So this is just a good way to show you guys, this is what we're kind of going off of, as well as that risk model.
All right, so then,
Question.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
How do you assess risk? What numbers do you use?
Eric will touch on it a little bit in the next one, but what we do is we use Mazer, so they have a risk model on their website. It's actually out there for the public. And we can share it in our update if we want, but we shared it a couple of times, but we go out there and you can run it by zebra mussel, you can run it by finding water police, Stoneware. And what it does is it looks at the boat traffic from all these surveys that us, the DNR, all the counties are doing. And what lake is it going to and from? Is it going from a zebra mussel infested lake? And then it runs like a model. So this lake risk because there's more boats coming from Mille Lacs to this lake, so they're at a risk for spending water police. So we combine that with, okay, how high of a risk are they? And then how busy are they?
So you're using Matrix numbers?
For the risk stuff, yep.
There's kind of a disconnect there because the highest risk lake in the county for new zebra mussels infection is Upper Mission Lake.
for Macerich.
And then
Yeah,
we look at-
we've got the lowest number, the absolute lowest number of inspections.
And the applicants,
So
so then we use.
is there a way to manage that disconnect somehow?
There, we try, so part of it is obviously we use Measure, like I said, and then we use, okay, how busy is the landing? Because one of our biggest goals is we want to reach as many people as possible. So going to Mission, we might reach 5 people a day, where we're at Pelican or Cross Lake location, we're reaching 100 people a day.
Yeah, I know.
So that's one of the biggest, we're looking at, I would say we're looking at the busiest landings higher. Okay, we know this one's really busy. Let's say Cross Lake Southwest, one of our busiest landings. Had 0 risk, we're still gonna put them in the top because of how busy they are. Even if it had 0 risk, it doesn't, but
Question about the allocation for state. Are they just the inspectors writing down the licenses from the different states, or is there a reader?
no, we enter it. So it could be they rented a truck and it has Alaska plates. It's getting counted as an Alaska vehicle.
Who records that as the
Our inspectors.
inspectors?
It's part of their-
It's not a digital.
No.
Well, the university is working on, I don't know if you've seen that research. They're trying to perhaps get a system where they have the readers. So we know that if the guy from Illinois brought his fishing boat to Horseshoe Lake, and then he whipped down to Mission Lake without decontaminating, he brought us zebra mussels.
I have not.
Now, there's a personal privacy thing involved there.
Right.
But the license plates readers are everywhere. Police use them all the time. Just thinking ahead, as far as managing the risk calculation, that would be a big help.
Yeah, I have not heard about that. And I know we
Yeah,
get I shouldn't say a lot, we get a few every year where people are upset with our inspectors for putting their license plate info in there. So you
it's
get
public
that.
knowledge.
It is, you're driving
It's
down the
public
road, you're
knowledge,
looking to
not-
see it, but
Yeah,
yep, they don't like it. Now you have me in a database. Well, that, it doesn't go anywhere. It's just there to get a state and then it's gone, you know?
It's also
Okay.
scrambled in our database. I don't know if you
Yeah.
know that. Yep, all of the license plate data is scrambled, so it's not actually visible. So the license plate data that we collect is scrambled. But it's scrambled in a format where it's identical, so if we see the same person, it'll be scrambled the same way. But we can't actually pull license plate numbers from our data.
I'm not thinking about naming an individual, I'm thinking of a pattern. That's what the university people are looking for, is patterns of, say, we know a whole bunch of people from Illinois went to this thing for a fishing contest, and then they whipped over to here, and then we can just have a map that shows where the real risk is.
Yeah.
And Macerich wants to fine tune their risk calculations using license plates. Just thinking ahead, that there's gotta be a better way. Because right now, we've got a major disconnect. We're the highest risk lake in the county, and we have the lowest inspections.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll look forward to kind of seeing what information Mazer
What's
comes
the
up.
name of that, presented that? And, you heard through.
I can't even remember your name, Nick. I'm sorry, I don't remember. I'd have to look it up.
I didn't have the paper for me, but anyway, there is people in the university that are trying to fine tune the risk management using license plates overview data. Not nailing individuals, but trying to get a pattern. Because there is one. We know it happens. We know that these people have fishing contests and they go from one lake to another and they don't always decontaminate. One of our guys found a group like that coming from Horseshoe Lake into Upper Mission, and they hadn't decontaminated. We know it happens.
Kind of talking about our hours here, we were able to get a large, not 100%, but I can't remember the exact number, but closer to 80 or 95% of our inspections for the red landings. Orange landings, we were also high at 95%. Yellow was a little bit lower, and green. With some of that, it is, the DNR may have covered it potentially, but it also shows you know, with us, if our staff, if we're having staffing issues, we always cover the high priority lakes to keep that from going to the next lakes, going to Mission or something like that. So we're able to fulfill most of the hours across, but green is definitely lower in that. But I would say this year was better for green landing than most years we've been able to do as well. Same with the yellow landings.
I'm just gonna bring up a question because I can. So if a lake is already infested with zebra mussels, you're inspecting the boats coming in to see if they are bringing in zebra mussels?
So we're inspecting, I mean, that, but also like if they have plants, we're looking for starting.
So I mean, you don't, just because the boat comes in, oh, that's right, this lake is already infested with zebra mussels, let's not look at the boat. You're still looking at the boat for everything. The boat comes in and you don't care what kind of lake it's coming to, it's coming to a landing, you're
Yeah.
making the inspection.
And for us, so we do the violation report, so we do the report on site, but we also send out a violation form, so our inspector fills out more information about license plate, the people, the situation, and then sends it to us, we send it to the DNR, and they are able to have a conservation officer check in on that. I would say most people are very understanding, like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that, it just came out of a storage or whatever it might be, and they're more than likely willing to go get a decon or work with us on that. With that too, it's, we have boats coming in and out with zebra mussels, but we're just wanting to know what lake they came from, because it might be a lake that, you know, we don't have classified as infested, so we need to know where they came from. And so that we can pass that information along. If it is a lake that isn't infested, then we have to send someone out.
Thank you.
So our decon numbers, so we were able to, 2025, we did 229 decons, and we broke it down by landing this year. We have 2 decon mobile units, and so they can't go to every landing. We need authorization, but also we have one with a mat that can only go to certain landings, and then we have the one that doesn't have the mat, which can go to different landings as well. We did try a couple new spots this year. What we try to do with our decon is we look at what the DNR has planned, and we try to kind of make it throughout the whole county, so it's not just everyone's in Cross Lake, or we've got 10 decons in Cross Lake. We try to have it throughout the county so that someone that's in Mille Lacs doesn't have to drive all the way up north or farther out of their way to get a decon. You can see our numbers. Edward was one of our busier ones, North Long, Merrifield. We did Rice a couple times this year, but they redid their parking lot over there, so it was very difficult for our staff to have the decon unit at Rice Lake in Brainerd. And then we do ours a lot, Pelican, we do it at Helverston quite a bit and had good numbers there. Lower Cullen, we do it here and there. It kind of just depends. I like that. We want to have the decon unit throughout the county, so we don't want all of it in one spot. So we try to look at the schedules and make it available for everyone to have easy access to. We also have other counties that have permanent stations not too far away as well. So decons by month, May is our slower month for the decon units for us. And then we go to June, July is very busy for decons, and then August. So those 3 months are strong for decons, and we try to keep the numbers up. We did have the permanent station opening Cross Lake for fishing opener this weekend, or this year, and that was Governor Walz was in town for the fishing opener. So we wanted to make sure we had plenty of decon units up there if needed, and we did not have any decon completed at that location for that weekend. New infestation, Roosevelt Lake was a new infestation this year. They're in Cass County and Crow Wing County. So this is the DNRs that survey they completed. So with that, Crooked Creek, Daggett Brook, Daggett Creek, Eagle, Mitchell, Pug Hole are now classified as infested because they run off of that area. So I don't know in depth that they've gone through all those lakes, but for that, we have it classified as that because of the infestation in Roosevelt. I don't know if you want to chime in at all.
Yeah, so anything down water of infested, anything that's water flowing down from heavily infested bodies of water, we're now going to be listing just because of villagers being able to flow downriver. There are plans for next year to get out on Mitchell and Eagle, just because those are the ones that public water access to look, and we'll probably be doing some villager tows along with some dive surveys out there.
And that's kind of a wrap up for our 2025, what we completed this year. And I don't know if you have any questions before we move on.
Well, we're just gonna keep on moving so that we can, get you guys out of here or, throughout this whole presentation, if you want to ask questions, go ahead, but otherwise, we do have some kind of a little bit of time planned at the end here to answer anything that you might have. Just a quick overview of the agenda, we'll go through the actual overview of the plan, the budget, some of our programming, some of our proposed changes, next steps, and then if you guys have questions about any of this stuff, we did reserve a little bit of time at the end, but again, if you have something pressing, just go ahead and ask. When it comes to the AIS plan, there's 4 major activities that we look into, which is obviously inspections. Inspections are our biggest activity. Decontaminations, we have the grant program, and then education and awareness. When it comes to budget categories, and you'll kind of see this here in the visual representation in just a second, we have staff coordinators, the inspections, decons, grants, and again, the education and awareness. Here is a little bit of a visual representation for you guys. When it comes to inspections, it obviously takes the majority of the budget. 2025, it was allocated about 67% of the budget towards inspections. This year, it's going to 72%. That's what the proposed plan will show. When it comes to education and awareness, will come down just a little bit to 1%. Some of the money that's allocated towards the staff through like Amy and myself, that's going to be lowered down from 14 to 6%. And we really wanted to increase the grant amounts that will be given to associations because this year, with the new program, we had a few more associations actually apply, which is, we thought was really nice that, besides just the normal associations. So we thought in preparation for maybe more applying this coming year, we go up to 15% and hopefully that'll help out, throughout the county. Just a quick, Jessica was always very, very proud. The estimated rollover for 2026 is about $900. And as far as the actual state money, it's going to be pretty similar, which you'll see here in just a minute. This is just a quick money figure, which will be in the plan or in the information we send out to you guys. So you can take a better look at it, on your own. If you have questions, you can always let us know. But for inspections, the total amount would be $369,302 for amount allocated towards decontaminations, $29,511. For education and awareness, $5,008. For grants, we're looking at about $68,470. So the state is providing $471,391 towards our plan. With the $900 rollover, we're looking at about $472,000, a little bit over $472,000 for 2026. I know it's quick, but you'll have that information in stuff we send you.
And our allocation from the state went down $800. So actually our rollovers making up what that allocation went down for next year.
So program activities, we don't really see any changes or the plan doesn't propose any real changes to the education and outreach. We still have what we thought is a pretty good pamphlet that we created last year. I think in overall good information for adults and children. It provides everybody with information on where you should be checking, maybe a checklist. And also what we're trying to do is hopefully prevent this from being just thrown in the garbage. So maybe the kids can take a look and see that, hey, this is the kind of a standard weight and size for some of these fish. Grant programs, not a whole lot of change except for a little bit of an increase like we were talking about. So hopefully more associations will have the opportunity to apply. Decontaminations, no changes. And then we have a few proposed changes for the water inspection program.
Eric,
Yes.
are you gonna be talking more about the Starry Trek piece in your presentation, or should I interject now?
Sure.
The reason I wanted to interject is just to talk a little bit about, um, Shannon Waters and Kay Rosanka, developed, the Early Detection Volunteer Program. They've already got 35 people that are trained, in throwing rakes in various, at various landings and other areas around, at lakes around the chain. And they have about 75 people total interested in the program. What I'm wondering is how can we integrate this program, maybe with the help of Laura, or whatever, into what you're doing to maybe increase the numbers that participate in the Starry Trek itself? Just wondering if there's possible ways to do that.
Yeah, I guess, ours, we tried to do it, this is the first year that we began to do the Star Trek program again. It depend on Jess.
Yeah, I think it's possible once we figure out, I know they have a good start, like I said, they have a lot of people trained already.
Yeah.
So, and I also just want to, I believe you know the difference, but like Starry Trek is a statewide program. We don't put any funds into it besides staff time. So this Starry Search that we do, we kind of played off that a few years ago, and that is our own thing that we do, that we will reimburse lake associations up to $200 to go through over 3 times a summer at a few different spots and report back to us. So they're 2 separate things. So I just wanted to point that out first. So this part, is the Starry Search, the county program that we pay that $200. The Starry Trek that Amy talked about was something that we just signed up for to be a host site, and the state Mazer gives us everything to do the program. But the connection just off the top of my head without like sitting down and talking through it more, I think maybe we would see an increase in those people reaching out to us to be like, hey, we're doing essentially Starry Search on our own lake. You're training them or however you're running your program. So we would just probably see an increase in people requesting that funding from us. I would say it's the first step.
So how many associations actually applied for the Starry Search grant?
Like 4 was. I'll look real quick for you.
Okay. Yeah.
There's also a program through UMAM Extension, the AIS Detectors.
Yep.
And they do a variety of searching. They have the zebra mussel safari. They have the, I think they run the Starry Trek. They also have a stop spiny to search for spiny water flea. So there's a variety of programs available through that too. So
Right.
just an additional.
Yeah, the thing about that program, Desmond, is that it requires so much. Susan knows, she's one of them. It requires a lot of hours and that kind of thing. So the purpose of the Early Detection Volunteer Program was to give people the training, but not have to have them go through all of the work to become an actual AIS detector. And then but also to get more eyes on the water throughout the county. So I think we're looking for the same result, is what we're trying to do. And I'm just trying to figure out how can we coordinate that. And because this thing just doesn't cost any money, other than what it takes to get a rig, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be definitely something we can work on.
Yeah.
And we have, I think it was 6 or 7 that did it this year.
Good.
And yeah, that just to chime in on that AIS detector thing, it is a decent amount of training, absolutely. 3 all went through that this last year. It's really good though, like going there and doing the online is good, but then when we went and met in person, it was in Cragen's this year, which was very convenient. I thought it was awesome, like just seeing everything in person, and then they tested you at the end. I got 100%. But no, it was really cool though, because you learn it a lot easier when you're seeing hands-on.
Yep.
They have little models of the different things and all the lookalikes of the weeds and the crayfish and things like that. So if you're able to, it is a great program. Yes, it might be more in depth, like you
Right.
said, than just trying to zone in on Starry. So
Just, I know you guys only gave me 10 questions I can ask. So I get it, I'm getting close to the end. So when we train inspectors, we train them to be inspectors, AIS inspectors at the landing. We aren't involved in any of the other things like Tony was talking about, you know, where that Starry Watch or whatever it is, we're not training those people at all. We're not the training center for all that. So those people get training through the extension service.
No, separate, completely separate programs.
Okay.
Our inspectors want to volunteer to do that stuff, they certainly
They
can,
could,
but no,
but
that
it's
is
not,
not.
it's not what we're paying for. to
Right.
get that.
We just do like the high level, I shouldn't say just, but we do the high level, like they need to know how to identify what most things are. They think they find something new or find a certain weed, they're sending it to us, and if we can't, we're sending it to
Then we
you
send
guys.
Yeah, DNR at our hands-on training does some basic identification. But, you know, that they're not trained at the level of AIS detectors.
I will say we also had, this year with the DNR came and they did more of a hands-on project with, other counties and our county for inspectors to be able to come and see some of that hands-on stuff like the crayfish. I'm hoping they'll do that again next year. We were only able to get one staff to be able to come to this one this year. So we're hoping we can have more staff go to something like that where they get to do, not the detector course, but a little more hands-on of seeing all that stuff as well.
Did you say when you were talking about, besides the story, you said there was a spiny something and the
There's a stop spiny
stop spiny?
and then a zebra mussel safari that you could sign up to be a part of through U of M extension or the AIS detectors too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got to ask earlier, is, the Bellinger testing thing gonna be paid for by the county this year?
Yeah, that's still in there.
Good.
That's good, thank you. So that kind of, you know, the grant program, we don't really see any big changes towards the way that we ran things, except maybe update or provide a little bit more information, be a little bit more clear on when we want stuff or how we want things returned or the deadlines and stuff like that. You know, obviously we are putting in a little bit more money towards it, but for the most part, everything's gonna kind of stay the same. We'll just have to work on communication with the associations to make sure that they know exactly what we need, you know, with a deadline of October 31st and throughout the time, if they have any questions, something comes up, you know, just be a little bit more reactive and get that information out to them. When it comes to the 2026 decontamination program, we're looking at about 784 hours for those 2 mobile decons that we have. Our hope is just to keep moving those all over the county and get them out to where people will use them the most. And they also benefit from, most of the time when you have a level 2 mobile decon, we have 2 inspectors with them because that can be pretty labor intense, like Amy was talking about. So they'll benefit from having one person maybe doing the level 1 surveys while the other one's doing the level 2 decontamination. So we'll always hopefully be getting every boat in that's going in and out. Most of the time, if you do a decon, you might be busy, so you might miss a couple boats. So hopefully this way, they'll be getting everybody.
Very good question. Is this your first year doing that?
Last year we started,
Okay.
so this year we'll kind of continue that way. One thing that we really want to do is maybe give these guys a little bit more training on how to get to a few more decontaminations. You know, they might not push it, you know, but be a little better at talking people into it.
I think it also depended on our numbers of staff members. So we actually had a full staff this year that was willing to do decons.
Yeah.
Where the other years we didn't.
Otherwise, we're sending our lead out to help set up the mat.
Yeah.
The lead's going there to help take down the mat or one of these guys. So it's this last year was probably our best year, absolutely, like they were saying. For that.
Would you say that your level 2 staff enjoy having the extra person to assist during the decon too? Do you have the other person, like, suppose hoses get tangled and, I mean, it's unsafe, you can't hear, you can't see sometimes what you're doing, so.
Yeah.
I think they did. They really,
We also had a lot of new people at decon this year, not a lot of returners. So I feel like they'll realize they enjoy that compared to previous years where it's always a new decon person.
and if you have questions, you know, you have somebody to bounce back ideas with. So, do you remember this? What did they say about, you know? So I thought that was really. It was successful and we were able to keep most of the staff that we started with doing decontaminations, finishing with them. So we were happy about that. I think it also helps to have the $2 incentive. So,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm curious, when you were on that slide a while ago, it showed that I'm Upper South Lawn. And there were only 2 decons.
Oh, that was the other one.
Is there a reason why there would have only been 2? I mean, is it because there wasn't a level 2 person there? Or,
We had noticed that too. That's one thing we pointed out to look at when we looked at our plan this year. One, Upper South Lawn isn't, even just in the data for the inspections, isn't very busy. So that's part of it. They're just not getting that many inspections there. And then we looked at, like, we like having the decon there because it's in the south side of the county, but it's also pretty far away from other lakes. So like, is
I
that?
wondered if that might be a factor.
We do like it though. It's a good location because it's in the south. Like I said, there's nowhere else down there we can put one. So we like to keep it there, but yeah, those numbers are just really low and those are our thoughts as to why.
Okay.
Eric, on some of the lakes that had a lot of, decons, like Edward with 50 and, North Long with 48, how many of those boats came from other lakes? Not come from other lakes to go into those particular lakes, but came from other lakes to get deconned and then go back to their other lake?
We don't, I wouldn't have that off the top of my head, but we can certainly make a note and take a look at the data and see if we can find that for you. I don't want to say a number and then be completely wrong.
No, I know, yeah, and, but there were cases like that.
Yeah,
Okay,
License plates.
Edward especially, it's near quite a few other lakes, so.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm wondering, the DNR sets up roadside inspections and decons. Would it make any sense for the county to look at that? A more visible location on a roadside, where they do the inspections and then if they do that, can they require that boats come in to be inspected?
I don't know if we have the authority
I
to
don't
tell
know if we have
somebody.
the authority to do that.
Because the DNR does, right?
They have their.
Well, the county, so one, they're expensive and they are funded through the state in each region. There's a set number. We actually did 5 this year in Region 2 and I'll talk about it in my presentation. But it has to be staffed by, you need law enforcement, you need level 2 and level 1 inspectors. The canine usually comes. It's a big deal.
Okay.
So it's not like a permanent thing. It's usually run for 4 hours. Authorized inspectors who work for Crow Wing County certainly could assist. And we actually have an example of county inspectors assisting at a roadside check this year in Lake County. It was in Lake County. So they would have to pay their staff hours to be there, but it's all set up through conservation officers. So the county would have to coordinate with enforcement. There would be money involved, probably a lot, depending upon if they go with, but we did have a roadside check here in Crow Wing County this year. So, but it's a big event. It's usually like a one and done. It's not a permanent location.
Interesting enough, at one of our presentations year before last, the people that were doing those roadside ones said they had a success rate of stopping AIS of about 20%.
Yeah.
Which blew my mind.
Are you talking
But
about
they're obviously eyeballing and they see weeds hanging on a trailer. I mean, that would 20%. I mean, what's your percentage on inspections?
It is interesting that there is a higher violation rate at roadside check stations across the board. It varies depending upon how many boats they've looked at, the location. And it's something that we don't really know the answer to. Sometimes we do see a high number of drain plug violations at roadside checks, and that and most of the time when they pull the plug out, the boat is dry. So yes, it's a violation, but is it a risk? There's that disconnect. And then in Wisconsin, it's actually legal to transport your boat with the plug in. So a lot of these violations, sometimes we see a high number of Wisconsin boats because they're just traveling through the state, or they're not aware that in Minnesota, the plug has to be out. But yes, you're right. There is a higher number of violations at roadside checks.
How do they do the model that they use in Wyoming? if you pull a boat into Wyoming, you get stopped. I mean, somehow there's gotta be a model out there. Before you ever get to a lake, you're inspected. Just, you know, different, there's not much that water out there either.
11,600 and I can't remember the number now.
Yeah.
600 and some odd lakes with probably double or triple the number of public water accesses. We just, I mean, to staff every landing all the time, we can't use the Wyoming model, unfortunately.
Here's the proposal, figures for 2026. The goal would be to staff 55 inspectors. Don't usually get to that, but our hope would be to have 55 just in case, again, somebody calls in sick or inspectors have to leave early, something like that. We just have enough for backups. The shifts would be 8 hours again, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The inspector wages, for the most part, all of them will get about 50% or 50%, 50-cent increase. And it, 1850 would be the same as last year for the start, but then everybody else would get a little bit of a bump. We're hoping or encouraging some of the inspectors that we've already kind of trained, we know them. We'd like them to come back because it's tough to get to know somebody new and go through the paces and everything. So we hope that this will encourage some of that, some of those returners to come back. We had a really good return rate last year, probably the best. So hopefully, again, this will have them come back. And then again, the $2 incentive for level 2 decons. That's just, again, it just helps us keep people there because it is pretty tough to do. Staffing, the plan would move from Memorial Day weekend, or would start Memorial Day weekend and end Labor Day weekend. So instead of would be fishing opener, we would push it back about 2 weeks. And then you'll take a quick look here at a few graphs that we have and the reasoning behind it, which would then move the classification from four risk levels to just 3.
Is that a reduction in number of inspectors aimed to hire?
No, we usually try to do 55.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was 60.
For the past 2 years, well, you take a look here, just 1 second. But we want to give you a quick, or a little bit of time to kind of take a quick look at this. And like I said, we have a couple of graphs that'll provide some more information for the reasoning behind starting Memorial Day, and then the Labor Day weekend.
And just to touch on that, our goal, I think you're right, we've had it like 60. There was 1 year where we had about 70 people we hired. They weren't all on staff at one time. But the problem we run into is if we get too many, then they're mad because they're not getting hours. So we figure that sometimes even like 50-ish is kind of perfect because we covered 43 landings plus some expanded coverage. So 55 is kind of just a good goal where we have enough to cover weekends off, but not too many where people aren't getting any hours. And sometimes we'll get some that when we hire them, they tell us, hey, just use me as a backup. I don't need this. This is just a fun thing to do. If I get 3 weekends this summer, great. We don't typically like hiring them on because then we go through a whole process and we use them once a weekend or once a month.
If you go to the next slide here, it'll provide information on our staffing trends. I think the last 2 years we've tried to get 55, but it seems like 49 has been our lucky number there. 39,000 inspections, like Amy informed us this year was what we ended with. And again, try to do 55 just so that we have enough to cover in case vacation, sick, something happens. But 45 has been when we felt comfortable this year with that. It was really nice too. You guys have any questions on that? For the inspection categories or the risk levels, we've dropped down to 3, which would be the high risk, which it's still red, medium risk, yellow, and then the low risk would be green. High risk, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, medium, Saturday, Sunday, and then the low would be on holiday weekends. There is 13,208 inspection hours on 43 of the 149 public access in the county. And then again, some of the prioritization is based on some of the Mazak models, our AIS Explorer, and our inspection data is just big. You just, the trends of where we're seeing the most inspections and stuff. It sounds like maybe there's some new information coming from Mazak that we might have to take a look at in the future with license plate count or readers. So
And I'll just touch on this too. So we're starting to see the effects of, we used to have those big rollover funds, which higher pay increases, we could cover all the landings. Well, now this year with, really reining in on that budget, we're not seeing those high rollover amounts anymore. So we can't do as large a pay increases. We still think they're paid a fairly decent wage for the position. But then also that Memorial going from fishing opener, to Memorial Weekend, cutting the basically 2 weekends off our plan. Saves us a good chunk of money now that we're looking forward to next year and possibly cutting more. What is that gonna look like? Well, let's start here. We're getting a little bit of a cut. What is this gonna look like? Let's look at our data for that. And when you look at this map, I know you can tell just by looking at it, but we're not cutting any landings. We're not gonna not staff any landing. What it's doing is it's taking those red ones, instead of being fishing opener, we're gonna be their Memorial Weekend instead. And then, the ones that were orange before, our medium risk before, are now in our yellow category with our old yellow category, and they're all gonna start Memorial Weekend. Instead, orange started fishing opener last year. So we're just trying to really dial it in and just kind of prepare for what may be coming next season. But just wanted to let you know that we're not cutting any landings, but there'll be a cut in hours just because of those 2 weekends. And because 4th of July, I believe, is on a Friday in 26, so that's a couple days where we had more coverage last year. So how the 4th of July falls always affects our overall hours.
So a piece of data that would be important to me would be a number of violations that were found between fishing opener and Memorial Weekend.
Yeah.
We need to know the number of inspections and the number of violations in there to know whether that's good policy change or not.
Yep.
So can you get that for us?
Yep.
Oh, you do?
slides here that'll kind of help.
We do that.
Explain what we're going. Again, this is kind of some of the data that we use to determine the lakes that we need to cover in order to cover about 80% of the highest risk lakes. We need 41 inspection stations, and this is kind of the suggested area that Mazak provides here. So
Yeah, these are kind of hard to look at in a big PowerPoint like this and with the different varying colors, but obviously the red is the infested lakes with zebra mussels and with starry, and then they kind of combine the two and they give us, here's where we suggest you cover.
So I think this is some of the data that Tony's looking for. The average number of surveys per week by day of the week. So this is from fishing opener to Memorial Day. So and then you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So Friday, obviously Saturday, Sunday is high. Things are starting everybody's starting to go to the lakes. Friday's not very much, under 100 surveys. When it comes to Memorial Day to Labor Day, that's when we get the big increase. That's our Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's still very high. Fridays, not as high as Saturday and Sunday. But the next couple of slides will kind of give you a little bit of an idea of the from fishing opener to Memorial Day. It doesn't seem to be as busy as we would think. And again, here's the average weekly inspections, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This would be from fishing opener to Memorial Day. Memorial Day, June, July, and August. Throughout the summer, from Memorial Day to, July, August, it's all pretty steady. It all seems to be kind of trending the same. Fridays are just kind of lower for some reason than any other day of the week, which I was surprised. I thought it'd be a lot higher. Non-compliant watercrafts, when we start the season, it's very low. Now we can get these actual figures here for you, but you can see that there's not a lot of non-compliant watercrafts from fishing opener to Memorial Day. It's from Memorial Day to June when it starts to jump up a little bit more. Maybe they did a really good job of getting everything clean. I'm not sure, but there's not a lot of non-compliant boats during that first start.
Do we know, like, on those non-compliant boats, are they going in or out of the lakes?
We have,
Not by this, we could pull it. I would say probably 90% of them are going in.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm just
That's
looking at
very
the,
tricky.
I'm just looking at the Sunday figure. Does it goes Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yes.
Well,
Friday.
Sunday, Friday, Sunday.
Sunday's the green one.
Yeah, on this one, it'd be Friday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then just the total.
Oh, okay,
On opener to Memorial, we usually don't have Friday because we don't.
got it, got it. So it's Saturday. Oh, okay,
Saturday, Sunday.
okay, that makes sense. All right, thanks.
You, does this combine all of your data from all of your lakes that you work at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Because you only have certain lakes that you're at on Fridays, right? So that you're in fewer places on Fridays, so could your data be skewed because of that?
A little bit on for Friday, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is true.
And then you don't have data for the rest of the week, because you guys don't work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
We have expanded coverage on a few lakes.
Okay.
I think we did, 7 or 8, so not a whole lot. Yeah.
And a lot of.
But yeah, that is correct. Fridays, we don't staff every single landing.
So you're kind of comparing apples to oranges then with the,
A little bit.
yeah.
So I kind of heard something in there. Would it be possible for us to purchase expanded coverage for the fishing opener and the weekend after?
Yes, that's something I was gonna bring up here at the very end, but yes, so we would still allow that. Our request this year would then be, we're probably gonna ask for that a little sooner. Because then we would need to get staff hired on, so we're not starting Memorial Weekend, we probably will start our staff training till later. So we will allow it, and we know we'll have staff that'll wanna do it, that as long as they're returning this year,
Sure. Just what we might trade that is week, during the week for the weekend
right?
on those weekends. So.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank
So
you.
yeah, we would still allow that.
I go with the same thing, because all of our staff work on Thursdays and Fridays. So like our Thursdays and Fridays are always.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Alright. So here's just another form of providing information on the trends that we're seeing. Here is that, fishing opener, to Memorial. This is just actually the fishing opener weekend, so it is a little bit higher, to start, but then again, it just drops. But then it really starts going up during Memorial Day weekend. It's a little bit busy, but this just kind of provides you some information on the biggest weekends we seem to have are Memorial and 4th of July. Otherwise, it seems like everything is kind of straightforward, kind of linear line. And then this is just a visual of the, linear form of the information. Fridays, maybe because we're not all of the landings are covered on Fridays, it's just so much lower. But then Saturday and Sunday, you can kind of see Saturdays is obviously the busiest for everything. Your thoughts, ideas, is it something that we should stay Saturday and Sunday, or should we go Friday and Saturday without cover Sundays? Not sure what you guys are thinking on kind of the information that we presented. Any thoughts, ideas, likes, don't likes on that information? And you still have, 30 days, or, we still have quite a while before we present to the board and get their final thoughts on everything, but you can always make tweaks on the program. Yes, sir.
I don't have the answer, but in our lakes, the bass hunters are in there at 5:30 a.m. And yeah, and hopefully you're catching them on the way out, which is good.
Yeah,
Better than not catching them.
we think so. You know, but I can't confirm.
Question again, the grant money, is there gonna be grant money for both turtle leaf and milfoil?
Just the milfoil is what we have in there. That's something like he kind of mentioned, we're gonna try to revamp F1 to make it a little more, the questions that have come up this year on it, since it was new this year. Help explain that better. Do we open it to not, because right now it's just Eurasian water milfoil, sorry. Whether you're doing the survey for it because you eradicated it or you're doing treatment for it. We don't have curly leaf pondweed on there right now. Is that something we add? That's one of the questions we're gonna look at, if possible. I don't have an answer for you yet.
Well, if we could reduce it, then there'd be less of it likely going out to the next lake.
Exactly.
If we need help reducing it. And the milfoil too.
So again, we still have some time for everybody to comment, you know, this is obviously just new information. Yes,
I'm not gonna form this as a question, because I'm gonna run out. Would people be more, and this is gonna come out as a question. If I was looking and saying, boy, I would like to go out and be an inspector, I sure want Sundays off. Wouldn't I want to do a Thursday or a Friday or a Wednesday or another day during the week, so I'd have my weekends, or is that?
we kind of follow the trend of when people are the public is going.
Like, because you have a pretty good idea, that's when people use the landings as the weekends predominantly, more during the week, you know, people can use it during the week, people are retired or the day of vacation or whatever it is.
The nice thing is that a lot of our inspectors kind of, they don't like going out on the weekends.
Yeah, right.
You know, because they see that it's busy, they usually like to be able to go fishing or do their activities during the week. But we just kind of follow the trend of when people are there.
That's the trend, that's where they're at.
Weekend.
Also, I've had the store open if nobody's there.
Well, we still allow expanded coverage if they want, but usually those numbers are a lot lower than during the weekends. All right, so again, we still have some time, so there's no need to panic. You can always give us a call or send in or provide emails or information. Here's just a quick timeline of what things look like. We have the November 7th is when this is our proposal today. And then we have a 30-day public comment period. Then we're bringing the information, whatever comes from that, to the county board to vote on it. Then in March, we're looking at starting the process of hiring inspectors, inspector trainings, and then first day of landings, depending on what everything comes. All right. Again, if you guys have any questions, something comes up, you just need more clarification, Jessica, Amy, or myself are here to help you out or get the information for you. Here's our phone numbers and again, just don't hesitate to reach out. Yeah.
Is there an appetite at the county for looking at potentially restricting which lakes should be wakeboarded?
I don't know.
That's a really interesting question, other than the fact that when I joined this organization or got elected to this organization, I was told as a county commissioner, all I have to worry about is from the water edge back. And in the role that I've had in the last 3 years, most of my questions come from the edge of the land in to the water. It is a public water. There have been some people been looking at that, but I think right now there's only one county that actually put a moratorium on wake boats, and I think it was for Caribou Lake up in Lake or Cook County or something like that. I think it's the only one that actually did it. And if you looked at that lake, you'd see that the lake has, I think it's a very shallow lake. And somehow somebody must have been up there and caused enough grief where the county got involved in. I think it'd be really hard for a county to start sitting there and telling what you could do on public water. I think we'd be outstepping our bounds as a county. The only ordinance we have right now, I think, is the dock ordinance that we, handle in the county at this point in time.
Well, Pam, are you from the DNR?
Yeah,
I know that there must be some acceptance a little bit, because I know that some of the lake associations have purchased the map from MLR. Are you familiar with that?
no, I'm not,
You can-
but you got somebody else sitting next to you from the DNR.
Yeah, there's the maps that.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize, yeah.
Yep, no worries. Yeah, the maps that Rose, say appropriate areas for wake
According to,
stripping.
according to the St. Anthony lab, 20 feet deep or more and 500 feet or more from shoreline. And I know that you've allowed some of the lake associations to put that map at your DNR landing.
So that would be, approval through the Parks and Trails Department. That's all.
So it's-
For any signage at an access, if you would like to, get extra signage or put your own signage up, you would contact the Parks and Trails Department.
Well, the precedent's been set. There's already some of them out there.
And they followed the procedure of,
I guess they did. So they went through bureaucracy. Can you help with that?
I am not a part of the Parks and Trails Department, but I could point you in the right direction.
Okay.
Oh, so it's KERI.HULL.
I'll stop and talk. I
Yeah.
can't hear you, but I'll
Yeah.
get over.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, in our lakes, wakeboard, we both would stir up major AIS problems, which feels here that it'd be more likely that they're gonna come into a ballast or go out through a ballast. Which is hard to do in an inspection, I would guess. I see that you've got 3% of them were wakeboard ballasts. So how do they assess the wakeboard ballast? Not a trained inspector, so.
Inspectors usually have them, ask them if it's Justin would probably have the better answer, but usually they could ask them to turn on the bilge. If it's a fixed ballast tank, or if it's the soft ones, they would ask them to show that they're empty. If any other.
Make sure there's no villigers in there.
Making sure there's no water,
No water,
essentially.
yeah.
The veligers are microscopic,
I
so.
know.
Yeah.
Let Jessamine come up.
Well, unless anybody else has any more questions.
I have one more comment.
Yeah.
I assume that you'll send out for the public feedback thing on the
Yep.
proposed, you'll send that out on your normal mailing list,
Yep.
email list.
Yep.
Would you include in that, like just a brief summary of what the changes are?
Absolutely.
So that people that aren't in this meeting will pay more attention to what's really changed?
Just thank you for all your efforts.
You're there, you guys.
See if this works.
All right. Hi, how are you guys? Thank you to Crow Wing County for asking me to come today and talk a little bit about DNR's side of the work that we do and how we partner with Crow Wing County. I've been with the DNR now since 2012. So I feel like this invasive species community is a pretty small community. I recognize almost every person in the audience. So I feel like I'm just talking to my friends today. So that's a pretty awesome feeling. And some of the things that I've learned through my career with watercraft inspection and invasive species, that it really takes everyone to do their part. Like you said, we cannot follow Wyoming's policy. We can't be everywhere all the time. And so, our program is education based. And so you guys, you receive this information, you go out, you tell your friends, your grandchildren, your sisters, brothers, all of your family, get everyone on board, and we can all work together in this program. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how our program is structured at the DNR. And then I really focus today in on our work with Crow Wing County this year. We'll see if this works. Of course, it doesn't want to work. That's okay. I can advance it this way. Oh, that didn't work.
Think.
Oh,
Okay, there we go. So for just a brief overview of how DNR is structured, we actually have 7 different divisions with the DNR, including enforcement, fish and wildlife, forestry, parks and trails, and lands and minerals, and then our department, which is eco waters. So watercraft inspection, invasive species management is nestled into ecological and water resources, which actually has, I believe, is it 52 distinct programs within our division. And so a lot of times I'll run into people in public and they'll be like, oh, you work for the DNR. Do you know blah, 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 who lives in blah, blah, blah? And I'll be like, do you realize how big this agency is? It's huge. But each one of us has a role to fill and we all work together. We work within the culture of respect. We coordinate with other programs and other people. We help each other out. And that's just kind of a quick snapshot of how we are all set up. I think I have to this and you have to do that, right? Hey, we're making it work. So how the watercraft inspection is set up in the state. At DNR, we are separated into 4 regions. Region 1, which is the Northwest, Region 2, which is the Northeast, Region 3, which is the Southeast, and then Region 4, which is the Southwest. However, in watercraft inspection, just because of the distribution of the lakes, we've kind of separated it where Region 3 is just mostly focused on the metro area. You can see that here in the purple. And then Region 4 is all of southern Minnesota. But you can see us up here in northeastern Minnesota in the gray. I know that this is really tiny writing. It was supposed to be bigger because it's supposed to take up the whole screen, but I can get you email addresses and contact information for any of the program contacts there. So for northeastern Minnesota, I am the watercraft inspection program supervisor. I have a program assistant, Chad Burback, who works very closely with Crow Wing County. And then in our program, we aim to hire 12 level 2 watercraft inspectors who are trained to use the decontamination unit. And we also hire 12 level 1 watercraft inspectors that have to be fulfilling an internship. So these are every single year we hire our level 2 watercraft or level 1 watercraft inspectors, and they have to be fulfilling an academic requirement or meeting some sort of criteria for a college program. And our level 2s are permanent staff. So once they're hired, they get laid off every year and recalled. So you can see we have across the state, there's a little bit of distribution, but pretty similar. The overall goal is to have 46 total watercraft inspectors that are level 2 and 46 that are level 1. So we have matching level 1 and level 2 watercraft inspectors. And in these boxes here, you can see what the staffing was for each region. I am happy to report for the first time in my career, I filled every single one of my vacancies this year. I had 12 level 2s and I had 12 level 1s this year. But you can see that some of the other areas struggled a little bit to fill all of their vacancies this season. Now, really, we are the smallest slice of the pie. You can see here some quick preliminary fast facts for the 2025 watercraft inspection season. And you can see how many level 1 DNR had were 40. We had 31 total level 2s, which is the equivalent of 71 inspectors who worked for the DNR. But our government unit inspectors really are that large slice of the pie. Those partnerships through our local government units, just like Crow Wing County and many others, really put the majority of watercraft inspectors out on the landscape. And we do this through delegation agreements, which, as you can see here, we have 62 active delegation agreements with local government units across the state. And some fast facts in that, across the state this year, We did almost 500,000 watercraft inspections through these partnerships. So that is a lot of data and a lot of inspections being done. We did 3,441 decontaminations this year, and we detected zebra mussels on 280 incoming watercraft. We did see a 97% compliance rate across the state with the drain plug law, and over 98% of boaters arrived in compliance with the laws that govern aquatic invasive species. In the red down here, I've kind of pulled out what DNR observed here in Crow Wing County specifically. My inspectors observed a 99% drain plug compliance rate in Crow Wing County this year. And we were a little bit below the 98% with boats arriving clean. We had 97% of boats in Crow Wing County arriving clean. Yes,
Somebody showed up with curly leaf, would that be considered clean or not?
all aquatic plants in the state of Minnesota have to be removed before transporting the boat, native or non-native. So it would be not considered clean. And curly leaf pondweed is a prohibited invasive species. So yes.
It's been frustrating because some of our folks here have told us that it's no longer invasive, but they obviously don't wrestle with it. So never mind, that's a political comment.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, curly leaf pondweed is a good discussion. I know in some lakes it causes a lot of damage, and then in other lakes it seems to be fine. So it's one of those confusing ones. But yeah, any aquatic plant in Minnesota cannot be transported. That's the word. And then my DNR staff found 9 zebra mussel violations this year. And I think you guys said you had 16, 14. Okay.
If I get new questions with you. A zebra mussel violation, you found a zebra mussel.
Yes,
That's the violation.
that is.
There is no other violation other than you find it, right?
Correct. You are required to remove any, you cannot transport a zebra mussel dead or alive.
Dead
So,
or
yep, dead or alive. That's the way it's written in the law. So, even if they're dead from last season, that's still considered a zebra mussel violation. And the reason behind that is because let's say, you're at which lake? Mission, and there's no zebra mussels there.
Gotcha.
Okay, so let's say I take my boat out of storage, it's covered in dead zebra mussel shells. I go to Lower Mission, I launch my boat and the zebra mussel shells fall off. Somebody finds one of those dead zebra mussel shells.
Oh, yep.
There may not be zebra mussels there, but now the state is gonna have to do a lot of investment of time and money to confirm the presence of live zebra mussels that maybe are not there. And so you can't transport zebra mussels dead or alive anywhere in the state.
As long as I've got you on the spot. Are hybrid cattails on your radar?
That is more managed, I believe, by wildlife.
Yep, fisheries, aquatic plant management permits. So in this area, it would be Kevin Martini.
I know, yes,
So-
okay. We have some issues where they're starting to displace well rice. Which I would think would be, well, never mind, that's another, it sounds like it's the wrong time. It's the wrong time.
Okay, so I just wanted to take a moment to thank my crew this year. This is a photo of us at one of our all-staff meetings. And again, just giving you the quick breakdown of Region 2, Northeastern Minnesota. Remember that graded spot on the map? Here's kind of where everybody's spread out. So we've got myself and my program assistant here in Brainerd. We do travel all over the Northeastern region to visit crew and staff in other locations. But the biggest chunk of our inspectors are right here in Brainerd. We have 6 level 2s and 6 interns. So we have 12 additional inspectors that work together with Crow Wing County right here in Brainerd. And then we've got a crew in Father Hennepin State Park, which is on the south end of Mille Lacs. That crew focuses most of their work on Mille Lacs. And then I have a crew in Grand Rapids that covers Itasca County, and that's a pretty big county. So they're anywhere from the west side of Winnie all the way over to Trout Lake, if you know where that is in Coleraine, all the way up north to Bowstring Lake. And then I've got a crew that works on the North Shore and the St. Louis River, including some lakes in reservoirs near Duluth, Island Lake Reservoir, Fish Lake Flowage, some of the other smaller lakes there. So we did get 24 on the crew this year. There are some people missing in this photo. Not everyone was able to be at the meeting, but just there's kind of my crew for the year. And again, here in the green, you can see how we're kind of spread out. We've got the 6 level 2s and 6 level 1s in Brainerd. And we operate 3 decon units here in Brainerd as well that kind of go out to Crow Wing County. Now I have to mention too that my Brainerd staff also works Aiken County, they work Mille Lacs County, they work Cass County. So it's not always just in Crow Wing County, but I did pull out the numbers specific to Crow Wing County here that you will see in a minute. So the way that it works is we partner via scheduling. And the last 2 seasons, Chad Burback, my program assistant, has put in a lot of work up front to get our schedule ready and share it with Crow Wing County right at the beginning of the season. So he pretty much fills in all of our accesses for the entire season, which allows Eric and Amy to take a look at it and schedule Crow Wing County inspectors around where we're planning to be. Mostly we're out with our decon unit. We do have some level 1 hours as well. So you can only imagine with their 49 inspectors and my 12 inspectors and only a limited number of lakes. It's a lot of strategizing throughout the season. We also did partner, I think only a couple times this year where our staff were together. But in the past, when I've been short-staffed, Crow Wing County has provided an additional inspector to help us keep our decon units out, and we've helped them out and vice versa too. Okay, now my slides are off the screen. Here we go. So here's the breakdown of where we were with our decon unit this year. So in Crow Wing County specifically, you can kind of look through that list there and see the number is how many days we staffed that access, not how many hours. So that's the specific number of days. And now we work 10-hour days, but our days include travel time to and from the lake. So we're typically at the lake anywhere from 8 to 8.5 hours when we're working a day. So those are where we were. Now, did you guys work Garrison Wayside this year? Yeah. So Garrison Wayside, you see that number is pretty high. That's because I have my Father Hennepin crew and my Brainerd crew covering that access. So they alternate shifts on that access. It was really busy this year with the increase of number of fish that people could keep. We really saw an increase in numbers at Garrison Wayside. Across Southwest, we were out there for 23 days. North Long Maryfield, we were also there for 23 days, and so on and so down the line. Now, this is just with the decon unit. So these are the days that we had our decon unit at the specific lakes. You will notice right here that we put our decon unit at the Cross Lake Campground, which if you've ever been to that access, you're probably wondering, where the heck did you put that? Because the parking is not ideal there. So we worked very closely with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to go out there, take a look at the site, figure out a plan on where we could put our decon unit for Governor's Fishing Opener. And we actually ended up setting it up right next to where you dump your sewage at the campground. So not the best place to be working for the day, but we did have our decon unit out there for that day. And luckily it was on a Friday, so most people were dumping on Friday because they were just arriving. But so it was a total of 187 days we had our decon unit out at different lakes in Crow Wing County this year. And as far as level 1 days for DNR, here's the days that we just had one of our inspectors out doing level 1 inspections in addition to those days that we had our decon unit there. So you can kind of see that we have the same kind of structure as far as Crow Wing County does, where we're prioritizing high use infested waters with our staff and our decon unit. Some of the numbers specific to Crow Wing County this year for DNR staff, we did 13 courtesy inspections, so a little about the same. We did 3,208 entering inspections in Crow Wing County, 2,316 exiting. So that's a grand total of about 5,658 inspections that DNR contributed to this year in Crow Wing County. Our decon numbers were really good in Crow Wing County this year. We did 339 decons at the lakes listed here. So Bay Lake was our highest number of decontaminations. Garrison Wayside was shortly behind that on Mille Lacs, North Long Merrifield, and down to you see at the bottom here, Round Lake. We unfortunately did not see any decons. Now this column is specifically going to be a decontamination on a boat that was using that lake. So the boater is either entering or exiting the lake, and the inspector finds a reason to ask the boater to go to decon. Now this column where it says courtesy decon, we saw a really high number of courtesy decons this year too. And that is a boater who comes to where your decon unit is, but is not going to launch their boat there that day. They just want to get their boat decontaminated for some reason. And so we saw the courtesy decons in addition to regular decons at 44 this year. So yes.
How many decons did you guys do at the campground? I don't know. I don't see
0. It was Governor's fishing opener, and everybody who arrived had arrived clean. I think it would be great if I heard a rumor that they're gonna redesign their parking lot down the road. So that would be a good time for us to coordinate and hopefully get a parking spot there for a
I was
decon
curious
unit.
if you had 0.
Yeah, I know. But hey, we at least were there, right? We have to put on our happy face. Yeah.
You have a choice.
Yeah, Camden and I went over to the media release. That was quite the event. Governor's fishing opener, and there was a lot of bigwigs running around. So we wanted to make sure that we had a presence there at least. So thank you guys for doing that. Yeah. But yeah, interestingly, I thought it was interesting that North Long Merrifield saw the highest number of courtesy decons, but it really is located in a great, it's not too far away from town. It's right on a main road, easy for a lot of people to get to. So yes. Average number of decons per day in Crow Wing County by DNR was about 2 decons per day every time our decon unit was out. So they were really using it quite frequently. And the percentage of votes, so when you pulled out like the total number of decons done, compared it to the total of number of inspections, we decontaminated 6.13% of boats inspected in Crow Wing County this year. So looking at the region, so this is my whole region. So you're remembering the Grand Rapids, the Father Hennepin, and the Duluth crew in this. Here are our total decontamination and inspection numbers compared between last year and this year. So what I said here is our courtesy decontamination number jumped. And so you see last year we only completed 21 courtesy decontaminations. This year we completed 164. That means that 164 people said, I want to get my boat decontaminated. Where can I go? And they came to see us this year. So this is great. I do think one of the reasons that this happened this year is that we dealt with a situation with people trying to go to Canada to go fishing, and the border was being very strict with allowing boats across the border this year. They were turning people away, sending them sometimes 2 or 3 hours to the closest decon station to get their boats deconned. Sometimes even clean boats were being turned away at the Canadian border, just based on the fact that that boat had last been in an infested water. So DNR did do a news release. We got some media out there. We've had our inspectors talking to people. If they said they were going to Canada next, or if they were planning a trip to Canada, they needed to come and see us. And so I do think that that is one of the contributing factors. But also, I think the fact that our courtesy decon map is becoming more well-known and that people know that they can just stop by and it's free and they're doing a good thing for the lake. Yes.
So the Canada one, so who was turning them away? Canada was?
Canada was.
When you do a decon, do they get a sticker?
There is, so Canada then was asking us to provide proof. Minnesota does not provide proof of decontamination. So what we did in the interim is we asked the boater to take a photograph that was time and date stamped of their boat being decontaminated to show the Border Patrol. If the boat was turned away because at Canada, the Canadian government gave the boater a form that we could fill out for them, but Minnesota doesn't provide proof of decontamination. I'm not sure. I would assume that maybe other states do, but Minnesota does not.
Just because I've been to Canada so many times over the years, not lately, but over the years was, you know, it just seemed like that is the funnel of everything going up into Ontario and stuff like that. I don't think about the other states.
Yeah, I know that there was decon, Pembina's in North Dakota, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I think there was a decon unit up there, North Dakota provided for people, but I'm, as far as other states providing proof of decontamination, I'm not aware of that. I do know that at the end of the day in Minnesota, and this is why inspectors can't sign off on forms, the responsibility of the cleanliness of your boat is on the onus of the owner of the boat, not on the inspector. And so that's one of the reasons that we don't provide proof of decontamination. In addition, I'm sorry, courtesy decontaminations, these are inspections, sorry, 115, still a very good number, and 52 last year, sorry. Anyways, the percent of boats decontaminated did go up to a little bit over 4%. And our inspections were pretty similar from year to year, if you look. So I know a lot of my staff said it felt like it was slower at the access this year. But it was really hot. It was really smoky. We had a lot of rain, a lot of wind, and just not a lot of perfect Minnesota summer days this year. Very similar to your graph, here's DNR's inspections at Crow Wing County accesses. Cross Southwest was the highest. North Long Merrifield was the second. And then Garrison Wayside, followed by Bay Lake. Then Nisswa, Pelican, Halverson Bay, the campground. And then, of course, this data is skewed at how many hours we actually worked at those accesses. So I do know that we worked a lot at Cross Southwest, a lot at North Long Merrifield, a lot at Garrison Wayside and Bay Lake. Nisswa, we didn't work there as frequently, but you can just kind of see where our number of inspections are spread out across down to Crooked Lake here with 4 inspections, which I think we were only there one day.
I noticed that the lower A one now, you've actually put an area, the access on lower A now that's been all redone.
This number should be quite a bit higher,
Right.
but you'll notice Upper Whitefish is right next to it. We work at Upper Whitefish, but not that frequently. But while Lower Hay was closed, we worked at Upper Whitefish because we knew that's where people were going. Also, Upper Whitefish is quite weedy if you've ever launched your boat there. So we saw a large number of decons being done at that access as well. But Lower Hay does have a new parking spot for the decon.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I noticed. And I really commend DNR in looking at that and saying, if we're gonna redo a landing, let's make an area for decon, because the one on Aussie, I mean, they're redoing that a little bit now. That one off of, 39. They're redoing that. Hopefully they'll leave a really nice area so people can get in and out of that for the decon there.
Nisswa Landing, when it was redone, has a specific parking place for the decon unit as well. And like I mentioned earlier, my former supervisor, who was the supervisor of the program, she is now at Parks and Trails. And with her knowledge of watercraft inspection and our needs is really a great key to when accesses come up to be redone, because she thinks about that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
So what is what are the dates that you, I mean, do you do Memorial Day to Labor Day, or what do you do there?
So our staff start mid-April and they work, and their last day in the field this year was the 18th of October.
What I'm looking for, what do you have data by day for some of those?
Hang on. I have this great graph, but I'm gonna have to share my screen in order to do that. Can we do that at the end?
That's fine, because I'm just looking to, once again, just to try to figure out the days of the
It
week.
follows the same pattern as you basically saw when I put the graph up, you would see it's the same pattern. We see that bump, fishing opener, and then we see a bump, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, and then after that, it kind of falls off.
But in addition, what I'm looking for, gentlemen, is what days of the week, because we buy expanded hours for 6 of our landings during the week. So I'm looking to see what days that you're there so that, those are free days for us.
Yeah, so
Yeah, so we don't staff those days with our.
Not really,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
really, if you think about it, Tony, none of it's free.
DNR staffs, my staff work, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And we are always off on Tuesdays, because Tuesdays tended to be our slowest days. But it doesn't mean that we don't work on a Tuesday. We can work on a Tuesday, but if everybody is scheduled as they should, that's typically the days that we work. Yep. And this is very similar to Crow Wing County's graph. Here is my tree with showing what type of watercraft DNR inspectors inspected. And you can see fishing boats, 54%, pontoons, 16%, runabouts, 12%, personal watercraft or jet ski, I know it's kind of hard to see on this screen, 8%. Wake sport boats were at that 3%. LSPs were lake service providers. So those are the people who are installing docks and lifts and that kind of thing. We're at 2%. This red sliver is canoes, kayaks or similar. And the purple is John boats. And then boat lifts are at 1%, cabin cruisers are at 1%, and this little tiny sliver is sailboats, and we didn't see any this year. So I don't know where all the sailboats went. It was too windy for them, right? And just to compare that to the entire region, you can see that the entire region, when we include our numbers, we have a higher percentage of fishing boats, 61%. As a matter of fact, when I looked at Garrison Wayside, it was 71% fishing boats. So, I mean, when you include different lakes that have different purposes, it changes the data. And the wake sport boats down here are actually going to be only across the region. Oh, this is the wrong one. Oh. The wake sport boats are actually going to be down to, I think it's 3% here as well. So we're seeing a similar number, but typically most of those wake sport boats are being inspected right here in Crow Wing County. Cross Southwest, Gull Narrows, the campground. We do see a few at Bay Lake, but the majority of them are at those locations. Here's our violation rates observed by the crew. So Father Hennepin, which works mostly on Mille Lacs, saw the highest violation rate of 3.2%. And so that's either a drain plug, that's water, that's plants, that's anything that comes to the access is considered a violation. Duluth was 1.4%. My Brainerd crew was 1.2%. And Grand Rapids, they only saw 0.5%, which means 99.5% of boats arrived clean in Grand Rapids area. So the roadside checks, this is always a good conversation. So we actually hosted or helped to host 5 different roadside checks this year in the northeastern region of the states. There were others done across the state. We started off this season with one at the Upgard WMA on County Road 16. That was on the 6th of June. You will notice that the number of boats inspected are typically pretty low. We are working with enforcement to get them set up at busier locations or on days that we know that will capture more traffic. However, this year, a lot of the supervisors that I worked with in enforcement were new. There's been a lot of movement in enforcement and they were hesitant to put it at a super busy location this year for fear of something bad happening that would prevent us in the future of being able to have a roadside check. Out of the 12 boats we inspected at the UpGuard WMA, there were 4 written warnings, and that is the equivalent to a 33% violation rate at that roadside check. We did work an International Falls border crossing check station this year, which was very exciting for my crew. They got to go up to International Falls and they worked right at the border. So all the boats coming back from Canada across the border were then subject to being inspected. So they got hands-on 118 boats and they observed an additional 152 boats. So you can just imagine it was boat after boat after boat. And this was a 4-hour time period. So they were very busy. There were 19 written warnings and that actually only saw a 7.4% violation rate. The next one we worked was on the north shore of Lake Superior at Taconite Harbor. That is up in Lake County. And at that was the very first ever roadside check to be held in Cook County. And I'm sorry, Lake County. I think it's Lake. No, it was in Cook County, isn't it? Taconite Harbor.
I think we're Taconite Bay. It's just up there.
Yeah. Trying to
Look it up.
It's in Cook County. Ignore this. So that was in Cook County. And that was the very first time ever that the county attorney agreed to prosecute any violations found at the AIS roadside check. A lot of times we're limited on counties that we can hold them in if the county attorney will not agree to prosecute violations. For example, Itasca County, we don't have roadside checks in Itasca County because that county attorney is not on board with prosecuting those violations. So first time ever in Cook County, and we actually worked in partnership with inspectors from Cook County who worked for Cook County and Lake County. We also had conservation officers there, including Canine Jet that you see pictured here with Cassie Block. She's out of Two Harbors. We inspected 15 boats, and let me tell you, that was one of the coldest. So you think about Lake Superior, you think about even in June, it was like 54 degrees and raining the whole time with wind coming off the lake. So it could have been busier, but it was the first time that we had it. It was a Thursday. It was that, North Shore traffic right on Highway 61 going up the North Shore. So we'll try it again. It was a good location and it worked well, but we observed 17 boats there, 3 written warnings again, and a 17% violation rate. And then our last one was held over by Cloquet at the Saginaw Truck Way Station on the Saginaw Scales. It was very slow that day. We only had 10 boats, 2 written warnings, but there was a criminal citation. So I was at that roadside check. A boater came in, he had his drain plug in. It was covered in weeds outside and inside the boat and zebra mussels. So that was a fun one. He was from Wisconsin. And here, if this works, we'll see. Is a video popping up for you? See if it works. It's a short video. It's a canine bolt finding zebra mussels on the boat.
That's a canine that.
Yep, so here comes the dog. You see his little paws. He's smelling for zebra mussels. And that's what he's trained to do when he finds them. So they are actually really good. They have found, those zebra mussels, you can play it again. Those zebra mussels were actually planted in a little box on the boat just for practice. So he didn't actually find real zebra mussels, but he found real zebra mussels. And yeah, so there he goes. So yeah.
Seems to me like your weighted average on your inspections there would be pretty high for violations.
They are typically higher at roadside check.
You've got some that are 30 and some that are lower, but I mean, the weighted average has got to be significant.
Yeah, it is interesting that we see a higher violation rate. And so Again, could be a multitude of reasons. There's also the theory that if people are going to a lake where they know an inspector is working, that they are like, oh yeah, I better get this all ready, right? So there's that.
Except for your criminal.
Yeah.
But he's from Wisconsin.
He was from Wisconsin. All right, and I am happy Camden is here for this one, so. These are the new infestations in northeastern Minnesota this year. In the red is the Roosevelt one that you guys talked about in Connected Waters. But Itasca County actually had quite a few this year too. We had Bass Lake in Itasca County. Cabotogama Lake now has been listed for zebra mussel veligers, if you guys know where that is. Moose Lake in Itasca County, which is right next to Deer Lake, very popular lake as well. Poplar Lake up in Cook County, they found spiny water flea. And then Seagull Lake, another spiny water flea infestation. And then Swan Lake, which is also in the Grand Rapids area, did find zebra mussels as well. So what DNR watercraft inspection does is we get information from our aquatic invasive species specialists. They let us know, hey, this lake, this is what's going on. Then I actually will coordinate with local government staff. In this case, Cass County for Roosevelt, Itasca County, and then we don't work up in Cook County at this time. But I'll reach out to them and say, hey, do you have inspectors scheduled here? If not, I'd like to get some inspectors over there so that we can start getting education out to the people using that lake, that there is now been found, zebra mussels or spiny water flea or whatever it is. And then it gets added to our tier list for next year, where we will take a look at the numbers of inspections and then determine if we'll send inspectors out to those accesses. Do you have any questions on that? No? You're good. Okay. So we also do lots of public outreach and awareness. So everything in red was done in Crow Wing County this year with DNR staff. So we did the governor's fishing opener. Chad Burback hosted a master naturalist AIS workshop in Brainerd. We worked at the Everything Outdoors Youth Expo hosted at the Crow Wing County Fairgrounds. We did the Loonan Lakes Festival up in Cross Lake this year, worked a booth alongside Macerk. We did some outreach with the Brainerd Muskies Inc. at their youth night up in Nisswa. I presented at the AIS workshop with the National Loon Center at Cross Lake. We also did a decon demonstration, and Camden joined us to do some aquatic plant identification. We had our EWR division director visit Brainerd, and we demonstrated the decon unit, showed her Nisswa landing and how great it is to have a spot to park the decon unit. And then my inspectors worked at the antique boat show up at Gull Narrows, which is technically not in Crow Wing County, but it's right next door. So we also did a variety of other things. Here you see my inspector. He's working with Cook County up at the Grand Marais Fisherman's Picnic. They also had a parade. He is dressed up as a lamprey. Yes, that is true. That's the lamprey costume. And then we helped wildlife with the goose banding operation, which is always we decontaminate all their equipment, and we get to hold baby geese and other geese and help the wildlife crew band them. So we also can use our decon unit to clean up the landing after the goose have done their business everywhere. So
Emerald Ash beer release.
yeah, that was at the Voyager Brewing up in Grand Marais. And they had a booth, and every year Voyager Brewing up in Grand Marais releases a beer that promotes education about some aquatic invasive species. So this year it was the Emerald Ash beer. So, yep. And again, I always like to kind of end up and wrap with this, but as you all know, education base is kind of what I started my talk with. You can take the pledge. You can make yourself public on our website. You go to that website. You can add your name to the list. You can also view other people who have added added their name to the list that they pledged to protect Minnesota waters for aquatic invasive species. So if you have time and you haven't done so yet, do that. And then finally, we did do a wake sport learning day this year. So we went to, Marine Max up in Nisswa. The owner of the business up there gave us a tour of a variety of different wake sport boats to help my watercraft inspectors learn more about how to inspect them. They also allowed us to conduct decontaminations on the boats, so they got some hands-on practice with that. And of course, it was like 105 degrees, and this was the end of the day. So if you're seeing some exhaustion on faces, that is the reason why. But it was really a great season with my crew, and I think that they did a great job this year selling decontaminations and working out of the public water access to do the job of protecting the lakes, which is what we're all about. So, any questions?
Well, I can ask,
Oh, boy.
what are we gonna do next, in 27? You know, because right now we've got everything lined up for funding and everything for 26.
Yeah, so the,
27 is nothing for,
I think it's down to 50%.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So the AIS prevention aid is allocated by state statute by the legislature to the Department of Revenue. So it's not really even from the DNR, and then it's distributed directly to counties. DNR's involvement is collecting the plans, and then we provide and share the list of public water accesses. But I can tell you that, like I started out with that first or second slide, that the partnerships that this has created for our program are so valuable. And, you know, we really couldn't do the work that we're doing without our LGU partners. Also, the AIS Advisory Committee for the DNR is working on more ways to talk about this in the coming months. And so even though it's in the budget, we all know that things can change. And so in the meantime, you know, we're more than willing to work with our partners to come up with creative ways to make the money that they do have go further. And, you know, it is a daunting daunting task.
And I know I sit on the AMC Natural or Environmental Natural Resource Committee, and so we see Sarah and Bob on a regular basis. And there was a lot of talk about the fact, well, you guys are changing not you, we'll just put you under DNR. But you know, you're changing the cost of what it gets to get a license and starting all the other revenues from that. I don't know at this point in time if any of that's being turned back around to be dedicated to AIS.
I can comment on that. So
If you don't mind.
for our AIS grant fund, last year we had $400,000. With the increases to boat registration license fees, we're now gonna have over $1 million for associations to apply for aquatic invasive species
Now,
control.
that's associations, meaning lake associations, or could it be a county applying for that?
I think a county possibly could apply for it. I don't know if there's any specific restrictions, but it has to be for starry stonewort, curly leaf
You
pondweed.
narrowed it down to.
There's the big four: flowering rush, curly leaf pondweed, Eurasian water milfoil, starry stonewort. As for the county aspect, Angelique Dahlberg, she's the one who's running the program for the grants. She would be able to give you a definite answer if a county or a watershed or any groups could apply for that.
I said a couple watershed plans also. The other thing that I brought up to both, mostly to Bob, is the fact that, you know, the way it's been prorated, you know, dedicated by, of that $10 million, which is now gonna be 5, but of that 10 million was half for landings, half for the number of parking spaces at landings. Then the only challenge I see with that is, you go up to St. Louis County, there's a lot of lakes in St. Louis County. They get the largest share of that fund that is divided up amongst all the counties. How much are they being used? Would be prorated by usage, risk factor, like you talk a lot about risk factor. What's the risk factor on a lake that's up in Cook County that you can't even get to unless you walk into it, you know? I mean, so, but they get the same amount of money.
Yeah, I think that's just how the Department of Revenue is based their data.
And I'm gonna push to see if there's a way to do it
That's a good,
by by, when you talk about risk, the risks are gonna be on the lakes that are being used more than the lakes that are not being used much.
Yep, yeah,
And so
things develop and change over the years, and it could be good to look at it in a different way.
it's a different way of maybe looking at it, and start somewhere.
Mhm.
But I'm really glad to hear that we do a really good job here at Crow Wing with our relationship with the DNR. Try to shut up.
So this is my new toy that I've been having fun with. It's Microsoft Power BI, and it, all of our data talks to each other. And so I was saying that I could show you, the inspections by hour very quickly. So here is inspections by week. So this is just for my staff here at DNR. So you can see here, this is when we started, the 23rd. We had 200, the 23rd of April, we had 246 inspections on the 23rd of April. And then moving up and across here, you can see here's the first bump. That's the 7th, 519, that's fishing opener. And then here's Memorial Weekend, the 21st. And then you can see scrolling over, here's the 4th of July, that's the 2nd of July, 1,246. And then I think this is right around Labor Day, the 27th of August. And then you really see it just fall off after that, all the way down to the last day working, 120 inspections on the 15th. So I think that, and then you said you wanted by hour or by day?
Well, more by day, and we can talk about it offline, so that's fine.
Okay.
All right, well, we're gonna stop recording here.